Warning: the following broadcast features thoughts, ideas, and opinions you might find offensive. If you're easily angered, insulted, hurt, provoked, outraged, or annoyed, the following may offend you. The views expressed in this show are solely those of the individuals providing them and do not reflect the opinions of YouTube or Google. So please, don't flag this video. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hi guys. Oh no. Hang on. Vicky, where did your webcam go?
I don't know. I'm trying to fix it.
I'm so sorry guys. Just so you know, at the start of the stream, my computer is completely dying and I ordered a new one and it was meant to come here in time, but it's not coming here till Tuesday. So there might be a couple of, I don't know what happened to Vicky though, that's her own issue. There might be a couple of technical difficulties. Let us know if anything I think sounds fine. Hey, you're back. Let us know if, if there's any issues that I know we can try and fix it. But hopefully you guys can bear with us. And at least we've got sound. So just close your eyes.
Yeah.
And hopefully it will work better.
Literally, you hit, it started to stream and my camera just went away.
I'm so sorry. It took so long to load. I guess we get to start off today with talking about, we have our first ever guest. Wait, this way. Hey!
Hey!
Yes. So this is Desmond. Desmond, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name is Desmond, and I have a YouTube channel and a podcast called Desmond's Flicks. And I've had both Vicky and Emma on my podcast before, and we had awesome conversations talking about horror films, disturbing movies, and I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
It's okay. Thanks for coming. Thanks for volunteering. Well, not really. We begged you. But
So happy to be here. It's so much fun.
So far, we haven't started yet. You wait.
Just wait.
That's it. Bye.
Oh, thank you so much for Blood Sacrifice, Dam Breaker. Thank you. Much appreciated. I've left the links for both Vicky and Desmond down below. If you want to check out their channels, please do. Please subscribe. So today we're talking about Silence of the Lambs and Sleepaway Camp. I guess we normally on Does This Offend You, we have a linking theme. And this linking theme is a little bit, it's not really controversial, but it's something that is overlooked and not really spoken about a lot in horror. And that is the representation of trans people in horror. And it's going to be interesting because with these two films, I think we're going to have really what that means is kind of different, especially with Sleepaway Camp. I guess we'll get into that and what we actually think about those characters because, yeah, it's kind of all over the place. What do you guys want to start with?
Oh, yeah. We never decide beforehand.
Well, we can leave it up to the chat. Oh, thanks for coming, Nocturnal Horrors. Sean, thank you.
Oh, hello.
Yeah. Did you guys want to start with anyone in particular? It's hard. I mean...
Either one.
Mm-hmm. Well, I guess I should also ask, I'm assuming both of you had seen these films beforehand.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Also, I'm wearing my Buffalo Bill shirt. You can't see. Sorry, my mic's on him as well. But he's there, I swear.
You need to hold it out like this when he's over the well.
Is anyone getting...
Sean said Sleepaway Camp.
Yeah, we've got one person saying what we want to... Okay, so should we go with that? Let's just start with that then.
Start with Sleepaway Camp?
Let's do it.
I think we should start with that then. Since we haven't got any other... I don't know if there's a delay or what's going on, guys.
Yeah, just a lot of highs.
Everyone's just
we can go with Sleepaway
okay,
Camp.
Let's go with Sleepaway Camp. Thanks, Sean.
Thanks, Sean. We'll go with Sleepaway Camp. I just did quick summaries for both of these because I feel like we, for once, picked two films that are really popular instead of just one that's really popular like we tend to do. But also, spoiler warning, I saw at least one person, Tyler Corns, hasn't seen Silence of the Lambs. Just a fair warning, we're definitely going to spoil both movies. So if that's...
Tyler, you're a smart boy. Why?
He said don't skin him alive, but he hasn't seen it, so calm down. It's okay.
I was getting ready.
But we are going to spoil it, so just if that's a concern, then I don't know, you might need to like cover your ears or something, because yeah, we're going to get into
the
it
whole time.
So Sleepaway Camp came out in 1983 and it goes kind of as such. After a horrible boating accident kills her family, Angela, a shy and sullen young girl, moves in with her eccentric Aunt Martha alongside her protective cousin Ricky. One summer, Martha sends the kids to Camp Arawak. Soon after their arrival, a series of bizarre and increasingly violent accidents begin to claim the lives of various campers. That's just a quick overview, but we'll get into what happens.
Yeah. Yes, this film is a lot. I've probably seen this film, I think, probably like 4 times now. I'm sure you guys probably the same. Like, it's one of those ones that seem to... I don't know why. I mean, I like it. I'm in... What, do you guys like this film? What do you think? Just initial thoughts, I guess.
It's just one of those, like, kind of bizarre films a little bit. Like...
Yeah. Okay.
You feel the same way?
Desmond,
yeah, it really is a very bizarre film. And, you know, for folks that don't know, I'm trans myself, and I've seen this movie before I transitioned, and then also as I was transitioning and now fully transitioned. So as I've seen it over the years, it's kind of changed for me over time, but I still really love it because it's there's something about it that when you're watching it, you can tell that the 80s were a different time, and people didn't realize how offensive something could potentially be, but it doesn't come across as malicious, and that's why I like it.
That's interesting. I mean, we're probably going to get into the character and whether it is, and not. It's hard to say this because you don't really want to break down what you think someone's gender identity is, especially if it's. Well, I mean, even more so, it's so easy to change that in being fiction. So I don't know. I think the discussions about this movie are really interesting. But I think I'm really interested to hear what you have to say, Desmond, about who Angela really is, because I think Vicky and I have kind of similar standpoints as on, like, it's not really her decision as such. So it's a very interesting one because I feel like because there isn't enough portrayal of trans people in film, let alone horror, these kind of people are the spokespeople, and it doesn't make any sense to me. I don't know if it's the same for you.
You know, as I think about it, probably my favorite portrayal of a trans person, at least recently, is in Assassination Nation.
Yeah.
I
knew you were going to say that.
Because I was like,
Yeah.
Yes, you got it. And not only is she trans, but she gets it. With Sleepaway Camp, especially the sequels, when they refer to her as a her and that she has transitioned. It's kind of cool having like a transgender slasher. At least to me, I'm like, ooh, we got our own slasher. I'll take it.
Yeah.
And this film, and I think it's also because I've met Felissa Rose a few times, and I absolutely love her.
Oh, that's awesome.
And she's so sweet. And every time I see her, she gives me a big hug, and she remembers you. And so that's an added aspect to it. But I just feel like, you know, and especially watching the film before this and really thinking about it from the lens of, is this a proper representation of, you know, someone who's transgender? No, it's not at all. Like, no. But I can't hold that against the filmmakers because there's this sense of like, they just don't understand. And transgender wasn't really a thing that people knew about, really. It was happening, but people don't know about it.
Do you think that was even their intention?
No, I don't think so.
Because I think a lot of people, because you know, it's a topic that is, thank God, widely discussed today, and a lot of more people are out about it. I feel like people can grab those kind of things and see films in a different way. But I think having a twist like that at the end of the film. I'm not sure if that was ever their intention to, you know, they never really say that. They say what the aunt's intention is, but they never, and you never hear what Angela thinks about any of it, which is, yeah, super weird. I guess that brings us to the first point, which my first point of the film was that the aunt was completely deranged. And I think she's like my favorite part of the film because she is so nuts. Like that scene at the start when she's like, they're going out the door and she's just a weird creature. I love it. It's just the weirdest thing. And the way she talks and poses and stuff, and she's like going back in time. It's so,
oh no, that just won't do.
Yeah, that's it, exactly. And I think she's probably like the most damaged character in the whole film, and no one really talks about that. Well, I guess Angela probably is the most damaged one, but obviously she's had some issues that have done the cycle of abuse, apparently. What did you guys think about the aunt?
I mean, I don't know that I agree that she's like zany and weird and definitely eccentric. That's one way to describe her. I don't know that I love her that much though. Like she's weird. Maybe it's just because it's not really explained like why the fuck she's so strange, like why she is the way she is. But I feel like I mean, we all agree that she's like crazy though. Like she's absolutely nuts. Like, but I see it more in like a damaging way, I guess, because I'm seeing it from the perspective of like what she does to Angela in making her Angela.
Yeah. I mean, I'd agree.
Right. Yeah, and I you know, and I see it coming up in the chat, and I have to agree. It's the shock value. They wanted to have something that would shock people, and it was like they were putting that twist in early, letting you know those little breadcrumbs, letting you know about that. But yeah, I mean, I guess for me with that specific character, I found her to be just so kooky, but she also kind of sets the tone for the film, and especially like even if we go even a little bit earlier in the film with the whole like the kids riding around in the water and they're like, slow down, you're gonna hit them. Like there's that whole part which kind of sets it up like, oh yeah, this is what we're in for. But with the aunt, you know, it really just kind of lets you know like, yeah, this film is gonna be off the wall, it's gonna be bonkers, and this is like probably one of the more tamer characters in the film in terms of like what she does to those around her.
Yes.
I'm trying to look at some of your notes. Sorry, it's not really working too much for me. Did you want to jump in, Vicky, with some of your thoughts?
Okay. Yeah. I mean, this might make it this might be the downer part of the conversation, but when I was watching it this time, I was reminded of, sorry, I'm like shedding. I was reminded of a documentary that we had to watch in sociology back in the day. And yeah, so it actually weirdly kind of relates to this movie a little bit. So just the very, very short version. You can look up this story if you want to, but this is the very pared down version. It's the story of a David Reimer. I hope I'm saying his last name right. But basically, David was born a male, and due to a medical accident that I won't get into the details of just because it's complicated, he had to have his genitals removed, and his parents were very concerned about him growing up without that. So it was recommended by a psychologist, a Dr. Money, that's his name, that they give their child gender reassignment surgery and raise him as a girl. This is 100% real. So they gave the child gender reassignment surgery at 22 months old. Yeah. Yeah. And he had a twin brother that was, you know, raised as a male. And the twins, they underwent like therapy with this same psychologist who did basically a whole bunch of fucked up shit, like made them like mime like sexual interactions with David being the bottom or like the female role, and a whole bunch of scarred them for life. Unfortunately, their story does not end well. It's a very tragic story, but I was reminded of this before because that's it's such a dark and sad story. Eventually David was told at like 13 or 14 what happened, and he had the surgery reversed back. Yeah. It's the whole thing. Awful. It's a very sad and like crazy story. Like it seems like I'm making it up because it's so messed up, like that would actually happen. Which it's crazy that you see it in like Sleepaway Camp where it's so zany and kind of like off the wall a little bit, and like everyone was saying like for a shock value, but like this kind of like really did kind of happen a little bit, and it's really dark and sad.
That's awful.
Jeez.
Wow, you went joking when you said here's the down part. Jesus, I wasn't expecting that at all. I just want to say
that's
really quickly,
fascinating though.
It's a fascinating and infuriating documentary.
Wow. I want to watch that. Just really quickly, thank you for your blood sacrifice, Horror Cash. Sorry, thank you. Technology is not doing well today. And sorry if it's a little bit lower quality, guys. The stream looks like it's suffering a little bit, but hopefully it'll pick back up soon. That's crazy. To say on that one.
That's all right. That was a downer. It just reminded me of it this time when I was watching it, and yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that makes me think of teenagers who, and those that are like getting on hormone blockers early on, and then later in their teenage years they end up detransitioning.
Yeah.
And it's one, like, I didn't transition until I was 32, and I'm going to be 36 this year.
Oh my god!
And so
you look very young. Wow, I did not expect that. Wow, god, shit. Okay. Shit, I thought you were like, okay, cool, go on. Very impressed. Okay, carry on.
But it was one of those things where it's like I feel like, at least personally, I feel like you need to develop as an adult and really understand who you are and kind of go through those things to understand who you really are, and not just going like, well, I'm tomboyish, so I think that I'm a boy. And that happens a lot with lesbians that will transition in, and then they'll be like, oh, actually, I'm just really butch. Like that's it. And then they end up transitioning. And it's, really a really difficult thing for someone to go through, because transitioning isn't easy. It's, not only with the surgery and, taking the hormones, but if you get off of the hormones, like, my voice will never go back to how it was before. And there are certain things that aren't reversible. And especially when you get surgery, it's like there's a lot of things that you can't go back. So, yeah, I mean, when I see all this stuff happening to Angela, and then later on in the series, she's had her sex reassignment surgery, you actually see this character progress and fully transition into a woman.
Yeah. I mean, I guess everyone has their own opinions on these, and about how young people can start to transition, and it's like such a sticky topic because of what you're saying. And there's been a couple of news stories here in Australia, but then it's like awful because it's portraying trans people in such a way that it could be, you know what I mean? Like, that it shouldn't be taken seriously when it should, but it's just one of those things where people can see it so black and white, but really the whole thing is grey, and everything needs to be like case by case, just like anything, I believe. So yeah, that's
oh yeah. Absolutely. I mean, at least the thing that gets frustrating for me, and I know I'm kind of getting off a topic with Sleepaway Camp, but when I look at like, someone brought up trans Twitter, and that's like the thing I hate is trans Twitter, because there are a lot of people who aren't necessarily transgender who are speaking on behalf of transgender people. Mm-hmm. And it's like, yeah, that's not really what it's all about. A lot of times we just want to go stealth, and I don't want anyone to know that I'm trans, and I just want everyone to be like, yeah, you're a dude, that's it. Ignore me. Let me walk by.
Yeah.
And
Sure.
for the most part, that's what trans people want.
Yeah. Well, I think it is well obvious. I'm sure this is obvious to the chat now. Is the reason we wanted Desmond here is because we don't feel comfortable talking about something that obviously we have never been through ourselves. So we thought it was very important to have someone here who knows what they're talking about. And I'm sure that's like quite obvious now, because it is such a sensitive topic. And the whole point of it, as you said, is that we don't need other people. You know, you don't need other people in your who aren't in your minority to speak for you. And so you probably don't want like two cis female white females being like, hey. So that's, you know, I think it's important that we open up that discussion to people who actually know what they're talking about.
Absolutely. And you know, the what women, what trans women go through, especially trans women of color, they have a much harder time. Like with trans guys, for the most part, if you can pass and you've gone through your transition long enough, you can pass. No one would ever know that you are trans unless you said it. Like I've totally gone stealth where no one in my like work life even knows, and that's how I like it.
Yeah, well, that makes sense, and that's why, it's why you are who you are, you know.
Yeah.
Okay, shall we move on, guys? We got into a deep topic offhand, but it was good. I wanted this to be said because I think it's important, and I think that's good.
Yeah.
I'm glad that, and I'm really happy that you're open enough to share that with us, Desmond. So thank you.
Absolutely.
Okay. Vicky, do you want to find another point? I'm just dealing with this chat.
Yeah. Sorry. Okay. Absolutely. Okay. I guess since we're talking, I mean, it's all about Angela. I thought it was interesting. I actually haven't seen any of the sequels, so you saying that she actually like fully transitions is pretty interesting. But I think what's interesting about this movie is like when you go to like look it up, like articles on it and stuff. I feel like it's very like split either way, where you get a lot of like people like, oh, this movie is really harmful because da 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 da, or some people find it empowering also at the same time, which I kind of got like from you also, Desmond, that you find it like empowering maybe in a way, or hopefully I didn't read wrong into that, but I just found it like an interesting like phenomenon that it's both offensive and empowering to people, which I don't think we've encountered a movie like that before when on this on this show anyway.
I won't say Black Christmas. There's already people triggered.
That remake.
No, let's not get into it. Trust me, I do not want to fucking
Definitely
get
not.
into this. We're yeah, no, I think that's really interesting, and I think that's what's going to be interesting about talking about Silence of the Lambs, because for me it's so conflicting, the views, because I love that film so much. But I guess that's the thing about this. There's so many things that are problematic in horror that I don't know. I'm getting into the Black Christmas thing. I'm not getting into that in particular, but like, I mean, as a woman, there's like so many movies that are very sexist and we still love because they're like cheesy 80s flicks, and who like at the end of the day, as you said before, it wasn't like, forget what you said, Desmond, exactly the words, but you said it wasn't meant to be malicious. Was that right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that is definitely the difference that you can see with this film. But I think the one thing we can all agree with, I put this in my notes, is that there is no way in the 80s a curling iron would heat up that fast for that death. I'm sorry. Like, it takes like 10 seconds for them to heat up now, let alone in the 80s. Like, there was no way it could do that much damage. And that offended me because it's inaccurate.
If you're gonna have a curling iron death, it better be damn accurate. That's all we're saying.
Sorry guys, the chat keeps freezing. I don't know what to do. Okay.
I think we're back.
Now. Yeah.
I keep saying frozen back.
Yeah.
It's okay, guys.
It's just my internet. Hang on one sec. I'm gonna try and do this and hope that it won't mess up anything. I'm really sorry. And change my internet. And
I think you're still live. It's just, yeah.
No, hang on. Let's just double check. This whole thing is so annoying. Because I was realizing I couldn't watch on Dean's laptop because it was me watching the stream again, so it was taking up more internet.
Oh, okay. I gotcha.
Okay, I'm best not to click. It says stop streaming and it says we're still live. But
that's what I'm saying too.
Is anyone in there?
Yeah, it looks like we're still live to me.
Are people commenting?
Good.
Yeah.
Welcome back. Good now.
Okay, good. Sorry, guys.
The curling iron massacre.
The curling iron massacre.
Sorry, guys. I just didn't want to keep freezing for the next, half an hour. So, sorry. Technical difficulties, especially on this one. It's just so funny.
Megan, let's raise money for Australia to get better internet.
It's so bad. It's mainly my computer, though, guys. It's just liking live. Okay. Okay, sorry, carry on. Where were we? We were talking about the curling iron.
The curling iron.
Yeah, the curling iron.
I too wish curling irons would heat faster because I obviously.
Yeah, you got a lot of hair. Okay, what haven't we hit on here? Eek. Sorry, I'm just trying to. Okay, what else have we not hit on? I can't. My computer's not even scrolling. Okay, I guess like one thing that I wanted to talk about, because this links into Silence of the Lambs, is the bullying aspect. This is a little bit different bullying with Silence of the Lambs, but we'll get into that later. But the bullying aspect within the film, and we pick out whatever we can deem offensive. So the bullying aspect in this film is really interesting, because I feel like a lot of people seem to have this idea that bullying only happens because of social media and in these times, where we can definitely see that this was bullying without social media, and it's so brutal and just intense. And Jodie is so mean, I guess, talking about the curling iron. And that's why everyone liked that kill, because she was such a bitch, but she is awful to people, and she manipulates people non-stop. And then when she puts Angela in the water, throwing her in the water, she obviously knows she has some trauma. She's just messing with her the whole time. And I just wanted to bring that up because we have spoken about bullying and social media bullying before on Does This Offend You? And I just thought that was really interesting. But that's
any other is she a counselor or something? The other girl that Jodie always runs to and look, Angela's not doing this again, and she's
talking to the boys. She's not playing with us. Yeah.
It just makes it even worse. It's one thing if another camper is ragging on you, but then she's got the counselor as well that's also bullying her too, and she shakes her at one violently too, because she just gets so fed up with her just sitting there like she does. But it's really kind of violent bullying.
Yeah. No, I think so too. And there's even, I mean, we haven't even spoken about, not bullying, but the harassment that's going on. But while we're on bullying, let's talk quickly about the sexism that they have with the kids kind of, bickering with each other. They, have that whole, that subtle dig about how calling the boys girls because they aren't good at the game and they lost the game, little bunch of girls, all that kind of stuff. So that's another language thing. But I guess the bigger issue, aside from the whole Angela situation, is the fact that the chef there is a pedophile, and it looks like it wasn't the first time he's done it either, when he takes her into the cold room or whatever you want to call it, into the fridge. And he's unbuckling. That's really disturbing. And the fact that those two kids just ran out of there instead of telling someone is super disturbing. It just makes you think what they had learnt safety-wise back in those days. I don't know. That was one of the most disturbing scenes, I think, in the movie. What do you guys think?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. I found that to be the most disturbing part of the film. And the death he gets is so earned. Or not even the kill, but what his disfigurement. It's oh, yeah. Thank you. He needed that, because he's just... Oh, he's so nasty. And when I was watching, because I have the Scream Factory edition on the on some of the behind the scenes, the kid that plays Ricky, he actually really slammed him hard against those crates in there, and he hurt the kid and was really shaking him hard. And they had to use Ricky's hands to do all the kills because the mother didn't want Felissa Rose to do any of it. She didn't want her to be any part of it, nowhere near it.
Interesting. It is interesting, like when you hear the recounts of like kids back in these movies, and don't you wonder when you hear kids say certain lines if they understand what they mean? I don't know about you guys, but when I watch like a horror movie or something, well, especially like The Exorcist, like those scenes, like you're just thinking, what did she think? What was happening? And they usually construct things in a certain way where the kids actually, if they're younger, I guess like Reagan with Blair, she was like a little bit older then. But when they're really young, you've got to be really careful. Like, I mean, Pet Sematary, like the kids walking around with like, like a knife. Like it's really interesting to think about how those kind of roles like screw with kids. I think it's really cool. But obviously, yeah, in that one they found a way to combat that. And I've heard about a lot of people saying that they don't want their kid to be the killer, but they can appear in the other scenes. But Angela, her role, she literally, did she have any lines? Like maybe 2 or 3 words she says the entire film? I don't know.
See you at the social.
So it's interesting.
Like she's got like a good part, like right in like the last, like 75% where she actually like starts talking a little bit. But yeah, I think like the first half of the film, I don't know if she talks at all.
Besides the end where she goes,
yeah. Oh my gosh, that noise. That noise though.
Yeah.
So
it says growling. Did you guys ever see that? If you watch it with subtitles, it says growling when she makes the noise.
I've seen a couple of different, like, I don't know, I guess verbiage to describe that every time I watch it with subtitles. But yeah, like growling, or I think there was one where it literally just said like disturbing noise or something. Like I can't remember. It wasn't on the DVD. Like after I got the DVD, it was on some streaming service and it was like just like disturbing. I'm like, insert disturbing noise here. I'm like, okay, yes.
That could be anything.
It could be. So funny.
It literally could be anything. I don't even really know what it is. Like, I mean, I know it's supposed to be Angela making that noise, but like I feel like no human makes that noise. So.
Yeah, well, I think it is meant to be like an animal kind of growl, which makes it even worse, to be honest, because it's like, what is that saying?
Right.
Yeah,
it's true. Like, but it's also just meant to be like, this is the final moment, and the whole film relies on that twist. Without that, you'd just be like, okay, like this film would obviously with Sleepaway Camp, it wasn't like didn't have the cult following until like much later after it was released, and I guess people find it and like they see the twist and how without that twist bit, it wouldn't be. I think it would have just been completely passed over, and not many people would watch it at all. So I think that they were just trying to really amp up that moment. I don't know. Yeah, it'd just be interesting if like something different. She's actually said something at the end. I wonder how that would have affected the film.
Yeah.
I
feel like there's nothing really to say though, because it's like the whole ending was just supposed to be like what are you gonna say? And I feel like the words that the lines that they did insert at the end, like the counselor with the whole like she's a boy, like I think that just made it worse though.
Yeah. Well, I mean they have to like
when I'm watching it, I'm like, okay.
Yeah. They have to explain it for like some people who maybe like what the fuck's going on, Yeah. I think it's super interesting. Are there any other films that have this twist? I'm like, spoilers! Is there any other film?
The Crying Game.
The Crying Game. I haven't heard that one.
Like but yeah, The Crying Game, because it's well, I mean they I haven't seen it in a really long time, but there's the main character, she happens to be a trans woman, and the guy that she's been hooking up with didn't know, and there's a parody of it in Ace Ventura: Pet Detective. Yeah, he like takes a shower because he's so disgusted that it was a trans woman, which I find that film way more offensive than Sleepaway Camp, because it's so specific. Like that's a trans person, that's disgusting. I need to wash myself.
Yeah.
Whereas this, it's seen as like, oh, whoa. Like, I wasn't expecting that. Which, yeah,
Mm.
you're not going to expect that. It's not something that someone thinks about in their everyday life.
Wow, that's interesting. I did think of a good one, but I can't say it because it's such a good film that I don't want to ruin it. But there's a horror movie that I have spoken about before. Because like it's like the twist, you know. But again, it's more of the Sleepaway Camp kind of version where it's not by their choice. So it's more kind of like Sleepaway Camp instead of, like you're saying, directly offensive to. But yeah, I think as well. I don't know if this is really controversial to say, but sometimes in films, it's always painful when we see things that happen in reality, but sometimes I prefer seeing how it actually happens in reality, and like violence against women, violence against trans people. When you see it on screen, sometimes that's a message to people, and although it's hard to watch, sometimes I'd rather it be that way and actually be portrayed how it normally is than like a soapy kind of ending. And I think that's kind of what we had. I mean, it's nothing the same, but it's like what we were talking about when we watched Stint recently, which is the what we call it? It's like a Christmas movie from the Netherlands, and they have a character on there called, we'll just say Sooty Pete, and it's back in tradition where it's pretty much someone who's like dressing up in blackface. And we went back and forth as, is it good that they included this tradition so people know about it around the world and they're not kind of sugarcoating it and going over it? Or is it like a bad thing that they're showing it and normalizing it? And you just never know like which it's meant to be. And you never really know until you see the director's intent. And I don't know, like for me, if I saw a film and it played something off, like that wasn't usually what happens, I don't know if I'd be more pissed off, if you know what I mean. Does that make sense? Yeah.
No, it does make sense.
It's
yeah.
really hard to watch, and that's why all those like rape scenes and stuff in like all of these rape revenge horror movies are so hard to watch. But it's the reality, and sometimes it's I guess the best example for that would be Nightingale, where it's like so hard to watch, but it's the truth, and sometimes that has more impact that way. And you can only hope that like a percentage of people watch that and have no experience in that kind of thing, or they don't know that kind of reality, and they can like learn something from it and see something in a different way. And that's what I hope. But I guess that's like me trying to make the positive of a really bad situation. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Sorry, I'll just get off my soapbox now.
You're good.
Don't let me go on rants. I don't stop, guys. You know this.
When I saw someone bring up a little bit earlier that I also noticed in the film, this is not like a controversial thing. It's the crop tops that the dudes wear. The little...
Yeah.
I forgot who said that, but I saw your comment. I was like, yes, the crop tops and like the furry
Short
stomachs,
shorts.
and they're just like walking around like, hey guys, let's go play
It's
some
funny, I'm
football.
actually wearing bike shorts now, so but it's not intended for the 80s theme. It's just really hot in Australia. But yeah. Yeah, no, it was tight, yeah.
Offensive depending on who it is, I guess.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to
Anything
go
could
and
be
prep that. I'm gonna have to get short shorts and a crop top for summer.
Yeah. It might be offensive to some people, for sure.
I mean, mad respect for rocking the short shorts and the crop top together, because don't know that those two really go, but I mean, respect.
That's a look, for sure. Okay. So, have we done everything? Sorry, I'm just going to grab some water.
No, you're okay.
She's verklempt. Let's go and talk amongst ourselves.
Yeah. She's still got her headphones on, though.
She's a bit verklempt. Talk amongst yourselves.
I still have my microphone on, so I can hear my microphone. I still have my headphones. Oh, thanks. I had to get up. I was dying. Sorry.
Just a bit.
I think it was the crop top talk. Thank you. Do you want me to give this back to you?
Cool talk.
Oh, it's not sparkling. I'll have this. Sorry. Good, thanks.
Talk about the head of camp, Mel, and his over-the-top monologues accusing Ricky and grieving over Meg.
Oh, that black mass right there? That's my cat. It's a demon. My house is haunted.
The shape moving back.
Can we please? Oh my god, how is this person back? Wait, that's not the same person. What the hell? Sorry. I'm like, what is going on in this chat? Okay, what's going on? Oh, okay, are we offended? Are we not offended? What's going on?
I guess I'm not personally offended by this movie, I guess. I don't know. It's such a weird movie. I don't know how to feel about it when I get asked that question. But I guess no. I don't know. Desmond's gonna have to answer the question.
Yeah, I think you have to answer it for us. For sure.
I don't find it offensive. I don't.
Okay.
I've watched this movie. I don't even know how many times. The other night I watched it and I was still having a great time. I was laughing. When Angela gets her revenge on some of the bullies, I'm like, you go, Angela, get him. And then I also really enjoy the sequels because it's even more fun. It's more of a campy slasher, and again, it's to me, it's kind of cool having like a transgender slasher, and she's like this totally like, in the sequel, she's really into camp and she's always singing camp songs, totally different. And, I just find them fun, and not a lot of things offend me because I've been called every name in the book. I've been nearly beaten and, made that I can't go into a bathroom. And those are things that are real. That's real life.
Yeah.
This is a film. And I can separate the two because, this is for my enjoyment. This is to escape. And for me to take it seriously as like, oh, this is offensive because this isn't the appropriate representation of a trans person in 2020. Yeah, no shit, it's not. It was 1980 what? It's okay.
Yes.
It's okay.
Desmond, that's such a good speech. I love that. That's cool. No, that's it. And yeah, I don't want to get too
It's true. I mean, it's how you have to look at it.
Mm-hmm.
It's how you have to look at it. I lived as a woman for 32 years as a butch lesbian, and it sucked. I got so much crap, but I'm glad I went through it because it makes it so that you're like, you know what? I know what it's like. I get it, and I know how to be able to put, my priorities straight.
I'm just stunned that you're in your late 30s. That's the only thing that trips me out. I'm like, no. I had no idea. It's so funny. I love that. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I have to agree. For me, personally, I don't see Angela as trans because it wasn't her choice. And I think of it more as like her brain chemistry and things like that. So I don't see it like that. But I really like the film. I think the film, and that's a lot for me to say because number one, I'm not like a huge slasher fan. I like some slashers, but I'm not like down number one, type of horror I would watch. And number two, I don't watch a lot of like 80s slashers. And so for me to rewatch a film so many times, I really like that scene and what it meant. And I love films that have like, an M. Night twist. I'm going to trigger everybody. Have like that big finale twist. I love that. And I think that, it did a really good job of it. And I like how much it's such a silly, small film and how much people in horror have like really taken it on. And now it's like at all the conventions, everyone always talks about Sleepaway Camp. And I just love that in horror when people take a tiny little film and make it into something so big. Kind of like Terrifier, like Art the Clown. It's just because of the horror community that he's been able to like exist. So I feel the same way about Sleepaway Camp. Like that people are like, it's our film, So yeah, I mean, I see there's definitely offensive things in it, but I don't find it offensive. Vicky? Your speech?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speech.
I mean, yeah, like I said, I don't really find it offensive. I don't think I can follow up Desmond's speech though, because
yeah, I know, right?
Way to show us up, Desmond. All right.
Yeah. You're
And
out.
I'll go ahead and
You're
make
out,
my
Vicky. You're out, Vicky. Desmond's in. I got a new co-host.
Before we end talking about Sleepaway Camp, folks, if you're ever at a convention and Felissa Rose is there, you have to go meet her. She is the sweetest person. And she will like talk to you for like 15-20 minutes, and she's the sweetest. You gotta meet her.
That's what I always hear about her too, that she's one of the like good ones that like I haven't heard a bad story about her yet.
Her and Kane Hodder.
If anyone hasn't commented on or chosen on the poll is on my Twitter. I think that it's probably been retweeted by Vicky. So make sure you check that out, and we'll read that out at the end about which one is more offensive. You just put the Google Docs in there.
Yep. As soon as I did,
I was like, that's definitely not.
Or I clicked right to the Twitter, and I was like, nope.
And also,
I'm done. This is my last.
Why Vicky's doing that? There is a link down below in the description for both Desmond and Vicky's channel. So go check their separate channels. Go check them out and subscribe. And that is the Twitter link. That is the correct link.
That's the right one.
Okay. Shall we move on to one of the greatest movies ever made?
All right. So I know how Emma feels about it.
I got my VHS.
I'm offended. I'm offended by that remark.
Oh man.
Use your VHS. Okay. Take it away, Vicky.
Do you still hear the crying of the lambs?
Okay, also really quick summary, because I figure for the most part, except for at least one of you that I know of, we've all seen it. So The Silence of the Lambs follows FBI trainee Clarice Starling as she is assigned to help find a missing girl and save her from serial killer Buffalo Bill. Clarice attempts to gain a better insight into the twisted mind of the killer by talking to another psychopath, Dr. Hannibal Lecter, who used to be a respected psychiatrist. And there's a lot going on in this movie, so that's kind of like the best way to sum that up, because a lot happens.
Yes, there's a lot of different aspects.
So where to start?
Yeah. Is there anything that you guys want to start with in particular? Or do we just want to jump straight into Buffalo Bill?
Yeah, I was going to say we can jump right into like Buffalo Bill if we want to.
Yeah. Oh, let's warm up with some sexism in the workplace. Just got to get the spit out of the way.
Sentences you'll only hear on Desmond Defend You.
And this is kind of where I wanted to, I mean, it's got nothing to do with really the bullying from the Sleepaway Camp, but it was still the same kind of like sexist kind of little digs here and there. But I really love the way Clarice like handles it in this one. There is the conversation when she goes with her professor. Is it her professor technically? And oh, I can't hear you. That's not nice.
What?
Wait, what did you say?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Were you talking?
I just said like one word. So maybe
what was the word?
I don't know.
What did you say?
She's trying to kick me out, you guys.
What did you say though, Vicky? What did I didn't hear?
I don't even remember now.
Oh, well, I said is it taken Oh, okay. Shit. Maybe you said it silently. Anyway, Jesus Christ, this person is. I've like blocked them. They're not even talking. Ew, what? Oh my God, I can't. Sorry, guys. Nicholas Vincent, stop. Okay. My God. People go like 1 to 100 real quick here. Okay, as I was saying, she goes with like her boss professor to she goes into this place where there's other cops and like giving you the short version to go see this body. And she kind of gives, her boss dismisses her in front of everyone, like publicly saying, you know, she's the woman and she should just wait here and she shouldn't see this. And later, she kind of gives the nod. I know what that's like. And then they get in the car later, and the guy says to Clarice, hey, like, you know, don't worry about that. It was all just smokes and screens. Like, I didn't actually mean to be sexist. That's what he says in a, like, roundabout way. But he does say, like, the smokes and screens kind of thing, smokes and mirrors. And she says, it is an issue because it's not just you doing that for yourself. It's doing it in front of other people, and it's teaching them that, you know, that it's okay to speak to women or put women in a corner like that. Which I just love the way she comes across, because she's being firm, and she's handling her emotions when she's saying it, and she's just like straight to the point, and I just love that approach. I thought, like, I love that. Just pretty much saying that if you do see something, you've got to say something, because other people will follow in those footsteps. And it's just another reason I love the movie.
Absolutely. I mean, Jodie Foster is amazing in this film. I love this movie so much. It is a horror film. It is.
There you go. See, I'm like kind of on the fence with it, I have to say. Like, horror, thriller, but I don't know. Like, there's so many movies can be put in each way, you know. It just gets very confusing. I totally agree that there's no defining factor that makes a horror movie, so that's why everyone like argues about it so much. Upgrade is a horror movie, just so everyone knows.
Oh, it's totally a horror movie.
Yes. It's on Wikipedia as a horror movie too, guys. Wikipedia is Bible.
You know, it's legit.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, Jodie Foster as Clarice is so fantastic in this movie, and she really holds her own in this boys' club. And there's the scene really early on where she gets in the elevator. It's right after the opening credits, and she's like jogging around. She gets in the elevator, and she's the smallest person in that elevator, surrounded by all men.
Yeah.
And she just stands right in the front of the elevator. I love that shot because it so encompasses the world that she lives in, and that she just has to be like, okay, I just gotta, hold my space. This is my space here, and that's it. And you have other scenes like that come up where, she's standing in a room, and it's all of these male police officers, and they're all just staring at her. And we get the point of view from her. And, for me, I remember having that similarly happen to me in the workplace, where I'm surrounded by men, and I was the only female. And it was like, okay, this is awkward.
Yeah, it happens all the time.
I just gotta stand. Yeah, and I just gotta stand here. And you would have male coworkers only talk to other male coworkers, and then they wouldn't even look at you. Yeah. And that's a thing. That's a real thing. And people want to act like it's not real, but it is. And I don't experience it anymore, which is BS.
That's so interesting, like the difference that you must experience now. Because, like, it happens to me all the time. Like, I've been at, like, parties with my partner, and someone will ask him a question that's directed at me. Like, what does she think of this? Like, not even looking at me. And this actually happened. The same person who did that to me, like, got up and, like, they went to leave the party and went to shake my hand, and I refused to shake their hand. I was like, nah.
Good.
And they're like, shake it. And I was like, nah. Like, I just couldn't. There was no respect. But yeah, anyway. God, man, Desmond, you get us into it. Hey, we're like always tiptoeing around. You're like straight to the point. Okay.
Go on, you're just like, okay, yeah, we gotta remember. What are we talking about again? Clarice?
Yeah. Clarice. Well, I just wanted to pull up that one before we get into the Buffalo Bill stuff, because I think that's pretty much the big one, right? That's the surrounding.
I mean, the whole movie's about gender, though. If you look at Buffalo Bill and Clarice, like together, it's just two different experiences that we're going through, but it's all about gender.
Okay, so should we start with Buffalo Bill?
Buffalo Bill.
Buffalo.
Yeah, I mean, that one's an interesting one, because I feel like for this one, unlike Sleepaway Camp, where I noticed it was kind of like I said, it was like on the fence, like support or against it. I feel like the most that I see for Silence of the Lambs is against it, saying it is offensive because of Buffalo Bill and the way he's played, I guess. So I found some quotes because I thought they were interesting, and it's because we were talking about like Sleepaway Camp, like we don't know for sure until we know what the director's intent was or the filmmaker's intent was. And Ted Levine and the director Jonathan Demme, I think that's how you say his last name, both say that like Buffalo Bill was not meant to be trans, not played gay or anything, even though people are saying like he's very clearly like a stereotypical gay man because of this and all these reasons. But Ted Levine said like he, in doing his research into like the gay and trans communities, like he didn't see James Gumb in there. Like he didn't see that character as like running in those circles or being in that community at all. And he said, I came to the conclusion that none of that had anything really to do with this. If Buffalo Bill was gay, he'd be killing and maiming boys and men, and he was killing women, which I thought was an interesting take on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I personally don't think he's trans. I don't. I think that I feel like how Hannibal Lecter explains it is that he has never been able to find anywhere that he belongs or that he fits in. So he's trying to find an identity that he thinks will, so that he will fit in more at. And he's like, okay, well, maybe I just need to make myself a flesh suit and act like I'm a woman. Will that work?
Yeah.
And, and it's because he's a psychopath. He's totally psycho. Right. And so I don't think he's trans. And even there's like a thing that Clarice says in the film where she's like, transsexuals aren't typically people who do stuff like that. They aren't violent. They're they're pacifists. And also the term transsexual isn't a bad word. That's okay. It's an actual medical term. I know some people get up in arms about that, but it's okay. But yeah, I mean, I don't think he's trans. I don't think he's gay. What I think he is, and what I feel like they are basing this off of is Ed Gein. Ed Gein, killed all these women and was making a flesh suit. He was making furniture in his house and using them for lamps. That is to me what the inspiration comes from, and that just seems like they're trying to kind of have and also just it came out at a time when people started to get really intrigued by true crime. This is when true crime really started to get big. But that's at least my viewpoint on it.
Interesting.
Yeah, and the director, I mean, completely went to your point also, saying like he's meant to be somebody who's so completely this is a direct quote, completely horrified by who he is, that his desperation to become someone completely other is manifested in his ill-guided attempts at transvestism. So it's exactly how you did it. But he admits though, like the behavior and mannerisms can be interpreted as gay because of this. But yeah, which is interesting. And I just find it so interesting that people still, you're free to read a film however you want to, but knowing the director's intent and still, still having that viewpoint is interesting, I guess.
And transvestite and transgender are two completely different things.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like if...
No, go on.
Go on.
No, you go on.
No, you hang up.
No, you. No, it's and it's gotten better over the years, but people seem to get them confused because they at like a casual glance they probably seem the same, transvestite, transgender, but it's like transvestite is someone who just is like dressing up as a man or dressing up as a woman. You look at Rocky Horror Picture Show. He talks about being, this transvestite, but he's still a dude. He just loves dressing up as a woman. And that's like, that could be what, James Gumb is doing. Or, again, he's just this psychopath that is like, I don't know who I am. I just know that I like killing people and I want to wear a human flesh suit.
Yeah.
And that's all there is to it.
Yeah, no, and I totally agree. It's said, I have not read the book, but it's said that in the book and in the movie, it's pretty much left up to your interpretation. But I like to go off the knowledge that we know that he has been rejected from different doctors in terms of getting a sex change. And you have to go off the professionals that they must know that that's not what he needs to, I don't know, I don't want to say like to feel comfortable, but, you know, it's not who he needs to become who he is. And I think that he's so transfixed on that idea. But he seems like somebody who is just looking for that expression anywhere. And yeah, and as you said, like it just doesn't seem like to fit the nature of the kills. It's very interesting. And the bodysuit, the whole bodysuit, it's not him becoming himself as a female. It's almost like him putting on a suit to disguise himself as a female, which I find is two different, completely different things. So to me, I don't think of him like that either, only because it's noted. But I do want to say that because you know, Hannibal Lecter is the one who really says, oh, you know, he's not that. He just thinks he is. I don't really like to get my sources from serial killers either. So like, it's hard to define who he really is because of what, you know, a serial killer has told you who lies. So like, you just never know really where the truth is, but it's inferred that, you know, if doctors have, and if that is the truth, doctors have rejected him, then there's probably a reason why. So that's my like thoughts on that kind of thing.
Yeah. I mean, you know, it's a long process when you transition. There's, you know, you need to go and see a therapist and talk through your gender dysmorphia and your body dysphoria. And those things are needed, you know, especially when you're wanting to transition. And, you know, for me, I had to do all of that so that I could get everything covered under insurance. And so, you know, that's why, like, when I hear a comment like that come up, when they're like, oh, yeah, he got denied these surgeries, it's like, yeah, obviously, because he wasn't seen fit to get it done because he hadn't gone through the proper steps to be able to say, yes, you are transgender, or no, you're not. Like, you're something completely else.
For sure. And on the flip side of this, because there was so much controversy around that, and I hadn't really ever delved into it myself. Like, I love the movie and I've watched it so many times, but I never really thought of it that way because to me it was like explained and it made sense to me with the information we were given. But again, that's up to your own interpretation. I was really interested to read like people who completely thought on the other side of that. And so I read this article that talks about the issue being the scene, like the famous scene when he's dancing in front of the camera and he tucks himself, and so he's dancing, and how people think that, and this is, I completely disagree with this statement. It said that people thought that this part of the film was meant to be the scariest and most horrific moment of the film, which, like, what? Was when he was dancing in front of the camera with himself tucked, and that they were saying that in turn that means that someone who would do that would be disturbing, and it's saying, you know, it's transphobic because it's saying anyone who would tuck and dance in front of a mirror or, you know, show themselves with a mimicked vagina and, you know, presenting as a male in other parts, that is disturbing to people. And I just can't disagree with that enough. I feel like that showed you his confusion, if anything, and showed you a little bit more into his character. But I don't, like, did they watch the film? Like, Hannibal Lecter literally, like, ripped someone's face off. Like, I don't understand how that was like, it was not horrific for me. It was, like, interesting and, like, kind of disturbing to see him just, like, parading around his room while someone was in a well. But it was never, like, it was more like a look into his psyche and what he was thinking. And the whole tuck situation was meant to be because it was meant to show, do I think of me myself this way? And that's, I don't know, for me, that was, like, such an obvious reason why that scene. And I say this about this film, and I don't say this about many films. I don't think that there's one scene in this film that should be cut. ever. Like, I love every single scene in this film, and I think that every single scene has a place, and I'm definitely that one. But to think that that is like the lead up to the most horrific part in the movie, like, I think you watched the wrong movie, because like that was not the scary part. Like, he literally like gets the woman in her van, like in the van, and like the whole lotion situation. Like, what? It's just so weird to read that out of that scene for me. I don't know about you guys, but yeah.
I guess that kind of goes with what you were saying about what was it? It was Ace Ventura or something, or the character. I haven't seen that movie in so long. So when you said that, I was like, damn, I feel like I got to rewatch this movie. But like washing themselves after because they were like so disgusted or something. I guess it's kind of like the same thing, but real. But yeah, also I don't understand how that's the scariest scene of the whole entire movie.
Yeah, that was not the lead up at all. Like, at all.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I had to say on that one.
I mean, I've seen this film so many times, and like you, Emma, it's one of my favorites. I love this movie so much, and I never get tired of watching it. I can't even tell you how many times I've seen it, and every single time I'm like, God, this movie is amazing. But you know, with the scene with Buffalo Bill when he's tucking himself, it's just, again, we're getting into that mindset of this truly insane person. Like, he thinks that this is what he wants. He thinks that this is the embodiment of who he's supposed to be. But it's like, nah, dude, you're just crazy. You're just a crazy person with a lady in your well. And, you know, that's
and
what it boils down to. Yeah, and a dog.
And the poor little dog. Yeah, that's right.
And you know, I think one of the more like horrifying scenes, the scariest one to me, is when Clarice first meets Hannibal Lecter. Like, that is a terrifying scene.
Yeah, her walking through that. Yeah.
Putting this young trainee who has to go past all of these cells with all these men who are like antagonizing her, and then there's Hannibal Lecter who is like telling her about how he ate someone's liver, like, so casually. You know, like, all of that is so much more horrifying than that scene. If anything, this scene with Buffalo Bill, it makes me think of you know, Jay and Silent Bob with Jason Mewes when he tucks himself and he's dancing to the song. It's like, that cracks me up because I'm like, oh yeah, I remember that from Jay and Silent Bob.
Oh my gosh.
I agree. Vicky, did you want to talk a little bit about, I know you wrote down some stuff about Clarice and her identity and how that's like her gender kind of identity in the film?
Oh, yeah. I mean, we kind of touched on it a little bit. You guys were pointing out you know, every scene, I feel like, with her is, you know, a reinforcement that she is a female in a male-dominated movie, in a male-dominated workplace. Like the elevator shot, which, like I said, is like one of my favorite shots of the film. It's like right at the beginning, and it just like sets the tone for the whole rest of the movie for Clarice. And it's a whole bunch of like little things, like with the autopsy and leaving her out. Little things like the only other trainee that's female that you see, like when they're running by and the guys turn and look when they pass by, and they're just like, you know, running and studying at the same time as you do. I can't concentrate that hard on anything, but but I also feel like, because I like to look into the meaning of everything, since her last name is Starling, and that feels like obviously a distinctive choice to like make her last name Starling over Jones or something. A starling is a bird which is known for being a mimic, which I thought was interesting because she's trying to fit into this world. And I don't know, I felt like she dressed a little androgynously, maybe. I don't know if that was just me, but I thought maybe that fits so well with her name being like a bird that's known for being a mimic. Like, she's trying to just do her job. So she's doing everything she can to like not draw that much attention to the fact that she's not a male, maybe. Mm-hmm. I don't know if that was just me, though, picking up on that.
Oh, no, I totally picked up on that, too. Like, the way that she dresses is very much like, it's kind of genderless. It's like, I'm just here to do my job, and I'm not here to, you know, I'm not here for the male gaze. I'm here just to do my job as an FBI agent. And so is Casey Lemon's character, her friend. You know, they're there just to get it done. And I like that they did that they made the character that way. And I think that Jodie Foster was the perfect casting for this. I think that one of the women that was considered originally was I feel like Meg Ryan was one of the
Weird.
people that was
I mean, I could see
interested
it, but yeah.
in doing the film. Yeah.
Mm.
But I mean, you know, it's so perfect with Jodie
Mm.
Foster because she has this presence about her that
Yeah.
is neither male or female.
Yeah.
It's just like she has this, you know, this really strong attitude about her that makes anyone take pause and go, okay, I need to listen to this person because she knows what she's talking about. She knows what she's doing.
Yeah, for sure. And that's the weird thing was when she gets to that, she goes to see Hannibal and she keeps getting like sexualized by the guy who like has to let her through. So that's a super interesting thing because she's like, nah, like straight to the point.
Yeah.
There's so many nods to that. It's very interesting. And then obviously there's like the obvious stuff with like, you don't have the, like the moths and the butterflies on there, you know, which is, you know, someone turning into what form they're meant to be and all that kind of stuff, which is a very obvious one, which I feel like is like so on the nose at times. You're like, of course, these like places like littered with like these bugs like transforming. It's but I like it. I love it.
100%.
Cool.
Somebody mentioned, hold on, let me see their name. Toby Larone wrote, oddly, the only people that really gives, only person I think he meant that really gives her respect is Lecter. Mm-hmm. Which I thought was interesting. I don't know if you guys agree with that or no.
No, I do. I agree I think she earns his respect, and that's why she isn't scared of him when she knows he's out. She's like, it's fine. I think that's, it's super interesting. But I do think that, I don't know, there's just something about her that he likes because he knows that she's being so honest with herself, with him, and even though she's not meant to be, she actually is the one who treats him like a person, which I think is interesting. I mean, I would still be shit scared of him. Just imagine him like coming up to a window, like barring like sheep or something, just to like fuck with her. Like,
I mean, who wouldn't be after like the intro? She gets like, "Don't do this. Don't get too close to the glass. Don't do this." Like, who wouldn't shit themselves? Seriously.
Yeah. Very interesting. I love these comments.
Dr. Chilton was a creeper. What a creeper Dr. Chilton is. Like when he's giving her all the rules before that, he's like hitting on her. I think you mentioned it earlier, and she's just like, no, and he's like, well, fine. Let's go.
Yeah. Well, doesn't he? She like goes up to the gate, and then he says, "Okay, I'll take you through." She's just like, "I'm fine to go through by myself." He's like, "Well, I wish you would have told me that, so I didn't have to walk all the way down here." It's like, it's very much it's like very much a hint at like you shouldn't have like led me on almost. Like it's weird. Anyway.
When he asks her like, "Do you want to come back to my hotel later?" And she's like, "No, I just want to like do my job." Is that cool?
I love her response to that, where he's like, if you want somebody to show you all like the cool places, and she's like, I'm just here to interview Lecter and go back and give a report. Like the way she handles all of it is such grace. I love the way she handles everything that comes at her.
Yeah, me too. And at the start, she's like a little bit scared. You can see she's like, you know, really stuttering and like thinking about what she's saying. But by the end, she's like, got it. And I love that. Car move. It's like Legally Blonde, you know.
I need to watch that movie again. I love that movie.
I love anyone who got that
reference. The second one was on the other day, and I watched like a good portion of it.
Wow, I never thought I'd be talking about Legally Blonde on my channel. Love that movie. Okay.
Talking about The Silence of the Lambs.
Yeah, linking them both. Elle Woods' journey. Okay. So do you guys, I think we've covered all of the bases from what I've seen. I don't know about you, Vicky, if you want to have a quick look at the notes, but I think we pretty much covered it all. I did have like a little link thing that I wanted to just say real quickly until we get, and then we can get into if we think it's offensive, if I can find it. I think, Vicky, you're the best. She's highlighted something for me. So I guess what I wanted to say with both of these films, I didn't, come out and say like what the link was really in the films. I'm sure you guys can figure it out now because the whole thing is we wanted to do a stream on how trans people were portrayed. And I think even these two films are not that, because obviously there's so many reasons as to why people just decide for them that this is the way that these films are and that's who these people are in these films. And I think that the real issue is that, many minorities, and especially people with trans, are portrayed in horror movies as the twist, as the reveal. And, or like, it was all a dream kind of situation. It's kind of the same. Like, that is what they used as a device in it instead of just being their own character. And people, we can all agree that with any LGBTQ plus, it's always the same. That is the twist. And we're seeing more and more recently, especially in the last couple of years, films that just have, gay characters, and it's not anything to do with, What Keeps You Alive, things like that. Movies that don't have to do with, their gender or sexuality or whatever, which is really cool. But I feel like these films are just weird kind of examples of that. And I think in the end, I don't really think that they fall under that, because it's the intent of the director. And in these two films, I think we kind of agree that they weren't really trans, like, with the real meaning of it. Not that we'll ever know, because they are fictionalized characters. Let's remember that. But I just think it's good that we remember that. And it's always good to keep an eye out to see how we're changing. And I think we've changed so much since these films came out. So I think that's a great thing. So I just wanted to end on that note. I don't know if that was a good note, but I'm ending on it. So did you guys find Silence of the Lambs as a offensive film?
Again, it's hard for me in particular to say for sure. I don't think so. I think exactly what you said is important to remember. Anyone can interpret the film, like I said, however they want to, but context does matter. And in both of these films, I think, especially through like dissecting them and really paying attention to them, we realize the context of these characters that's not what they were meant to be. Like, they're not meant to be trans in James Gunn's situation, or it was forced upon them in, Angela's situation. But context matters. And I think given the context of the movie, no, I don't think this movie is offensive.
Yeah, I agree. I don't find it offensive. I think it's a fantastic movie. If you haven't seen it and you've heard all the spoilers, still watch it.
We left out a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that we didn't touch on, but it's a really well done film. I don't find it offensive. But again, it's like, this is coming from one trans man. From my own personal experience as a transgender man, I don't find it offensive. But, watch it, see how it makes you feel, because it can make people feel differently. And that's one of the great things about film, is it makes you feel differently. You get all these different feelings, and also don't take it with you. There's, there's the real world, and then there's film. You need to separate them, and, just take it as it is at face value.
100%.
Yeah, good, well said. Sorry, I just saw Damien Leone's in here. I don't know if that is Art the Clown or if it's a fake, but I will probably ask him because I know him, so I'll just send him a message and ask him if that is you. Okay, cool. It's all right. Screenshot.
Did you answer
3 subscribers with no content?
Yeah, we'll see. I'm sure he has something on his YouTube. Okay. No, I don't find it offensive. It's like one of my favorite films ever. But yeah, big fan. And really glad that we had this discussion. I think we all kind of landed on the same similar page, but totally agree with what Desmond said with in terms of everybody's experience is individual and what you take out of it. I'm a huge person who believes. I'm a person who usually believes.
How tall are you?
Oh my god, I'm so short. I'm a person who really believes that there is so much gray area in everything, and your individual, like what is happening individually to you, really matters. And as you said, context matters always. always, especially in film. So it's so easy to pluck something out. But yeah, director's intent. Although when we do talk about director's intent, I think it's important to remember, even if a director's intent was something, it's much easier for them to say that if it's portrayed in a different way. So even though you do have intent, you have to make sure that carries through until like the actual final wrap up of the film and the edit of the film, because you can intend for something to be taken a certain way, and then, you know, Sharon Tate, the Want to Go Sharon Tate comes out, and everyone's very confused. I don't know if they intended or anything. I guess Red Christmas, but we don't want to get into that. The intention of films is very different to sometimes what actually happens. But yeah, I think it's good to keep an open mind and remember that everyone has their own story and their own opinions, and respect each other. And thanks to everyone in the comments, most everyone, 99% in the comments, for keeping it nice today. I think we're going to go to the poll.
Poll? Yep, I got it pulled. Although I did have to answer it to see the results, but
Okay.
I don't think I swayed it too much. It was 109 votes total so far, and it is 65.1% to Sleepaway Camp being more offensive than
I was
the Silence
expecting
of the
that, to
Lambs.
be honest.
Yeah, I was kind of too. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Okay, guys. I think that's everything. As I said before, please follow Desmond and Vicky, of course, down below. Both their links to their channels. Go check them out. Go sub. And I hope you guys are having a great day. Oh, also update. Just because I did this in my last stream, I just wanted to say we did raise $1,500. Me saying the wrong thing. $1,500 for the bushfire fund. Thank you guys so much, and we're deciding where that's going to go, and I will put out the receipt and stuff so you guys know I've sent it through. But thank you guys so much. It meant the world to me, everyone who came to that stream, so I just want to say a quick thank you, because I haven't really given you an update in a video. But yes, say no to Red Christmas. Yes, I agree with that. And we'll see you guys next month for Does This Offend You? Thank you so much, Desmond, for stopping on and being our first ever guest. And thank you always to my co-host, Vicky, who's always keeping it together, holding the stream together when I'm going crazy.
Keep it together, Vicky.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you guys soon.